From the old courthouse in Morat Bay to this modern courthouse in the Morat Bay Urban Center, we are fulfilling the vision of Paul Bogle for a just and prosperous society. The Morat Bay Urban Center, now under construction, stands as a beacon of transformation. Along with major infrastructure projects, it represents a bright future for St. Thomas and Jamaica as a whole. The development reflects our government's commitment to building a prosperous and equitable society where every Jamaican, no matter their background, has the access to the opportunities to fulfill their dreams and aspirations.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We're back and we'll be doing at least one video a week. So please stay tuned. So guys, today is October 24th, the day that Paul Bogle was taken from a cell in Morant Bay to walk up those staircases and paid the ultimate price, the ultimate sacrifice. Bogle, as you heard what the Prime Minister mentioned, led a protest march to Spanish Town to meet with the Governor Eyre at the time, who refused to meet with them, and he marched all the way from Stony God to Spanish Town. So most of us must have heard the history, but in the video I will come back and go into a little bit more detail. Right now I'm just bringing you a little bit of an excerpt that I found in a book written by Lorna Goodison. The book is named From Harvey River, a memoir of my mother and her people. So Lorna Goodison is a sister of the famous journalist Miss Barbara Gluden. She passed away a few years ago. She was always on the radio and we grew up listening to Miss Gluden. Into books you'll know about Lorna Goodison, and an equally famous sister, and I didn't even know Miss Barbara Gluden was Lorna Goodison's sister until I read the book. So I'm just taking a little excerpt from the book. Another time I'll come back and do a book review from this particular book. But I'm just giving you a little bit of a background of what took place, the aftermath of after trouble that they call it. The people wouldn't even speak of rebellion. The way it was put down in such a forceful way, people panicked, they were shaking. And many others ran from that parish and scattered all over Jamaica. It was a brutal put down. On one of my research, I found that over 439 persons were brutally taken out, and it was said that the Morant Bay River smelled awful. There were BODIES floating even 1 month after the rebellion. So you can imagine what it looked like, right? People who were not even involved were marched up and their lives were taken. We won't go into all the words, right, because of YouTube. So 1865, the trouble occurred. Not even the Bogles would speak of it. After speaking to Constantine Bogle, he said not even the Bogles would speak of what took place. So people were so fearful, right? They ran. A lot of people, not just the Bogles, ran from St. Thomas all the way to the other end of the island. Various parts of the island, various parishes, and some, like John Bogle, who was Paul Bogle's brother, who looked like him, just like him, they say, ended up in Hanover and then went on to Westmoreland. So it's from the east to the west, all the way to the other part of the island. So this lady, the great-grandmother of Lorna Goodison, her name was Liana, that was taken from her home as a teenager, a younger girl, about 15, 16 years old, by an Irishman, George Wilson. She was practically given to this man by her parents. He never married her. She was not happy. in the relationship, and what we would call toxic now. As the book mentioned, she was not happy in the relationship and he was not treating her right, and he never married her. She was there working like a horse day in, day out. Tremendous amount of work daily. And she would just quietly go about her business and work from sun up to sundown. I thought of that as a form of slavery too. So she was unhappy in the relationship and she kept seeing this man in her dreams from she was a young girl, maybe 10, 11 years old. She kept seeing the face of the man who was going to be her husband. And of course, it wasn't the Irish man. So she would see him when she's polishing the furniture at George Wilson's house. See his face coming. Mahogany table gleamed after she polished it. She would see him in her dreams. She would see his parents as well. She would be walking with the parents in her dream. And she would see like his features as clear as crystal. And she kept seeing him sometimes for months. She would not see him. And then he would just appear again, whether in dream or as an apparition. So one Sunday, 10 years after the Morant Bay Rebellion, Liana was walking towards the town of Savannah Lamar. So, our foreparents, 90% of them would walk everywhere for miles. Right in front of her, leading a big gray mule, was the man she was seeing in her dreams all these years. And she burst out laughing. She was that happy. He started to laugh as well. And as he approached her, imagine he's leading the mule, he's not riding it. He said to her, "If you was my missus, I wouldn't make you walk. I would give you this nice gray mule." And from that day, they never lived apart. This was her soulmate, a match made in heaven, and he would become her husband. So the Bogles ran from St. Thomas to many parishes, and some of them came to Hanover. That was where Liana was. They eventually moved to Westmoreland, but they were in Hanover, and they changed their names from Bogle, because to be a Bogle would mean an instant DEATH sentence. So they changed their name from Bogles to Bogues, Bogus, and Bogey. But the people of Hanover called them Bogle. So probably you have some bottles in Hanover, who knows? But it was a lot of mispronunciation going on. They ended up calling them bottles. This was 1875. And he died, her husband. He passed away. They never lived apart from that day on. Can you imagine? So when I saw this little piece of history about Paul Bogle in Lorna Goodison's book, I was so happy that someone, recorded this. This was from their great-grandmother's history, oral history at that. So Miss Lorna Goodison, Barbara Grudon, is related to the Bogles, even though they never had the name Bogle. Just to paint that picture of people just scattering and running all over. They would not speak about this trouble, they call it, the trouble. I don't know if people keep secrets that way, but you would know them for years and they would not tell you anything. They would not tell you anything. Worse, if you are a stranger, you will get no information at all from our foreparents. The brutal society that they lived in, so they kept their mouths closed. And you would not get any information from older people. They would say hello and all of that, but you're not going to get much from them. Unless, you're family or so. Even family, they would not speak and tell you much of anything. So we lose a lot of our oral history because people refuse to speak of things even to their children. So they grew up in a lot of brutality. So unfortunately, a lot of that brutality got spilled over to their children. Today, we remember the Right Excellent Paul Bogle, who was believed to be born free approximately 1822, and he passed away on October 24th, 1865. 159 years since Paul Bogle was taken out in Morant Bay. I am positive that Paul Bogle did not know that his actions on behalf of his fellow Jamaicans would make him a national hero. He paid the ultimate sacrifice, and because of that, we honor him with the title of National Hero. Thank you, Paul Bogle.